Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford's EDC, and today we're taking a look at a very special version of the Kizer Sheepdog. And the reason this is special, you can see right in the middle of the knife here, it's got the clutch lock, which of course is Kizer's version of the axis lock, formerly patented by Benchmade, now of course available to the rest of the market to use. So you now have companies like Kizer using their version, the clutch lock, which of course has the, if you don't know what the clutch lock is, it is an axis style lock, which means it has these omega shaped springs in here. And what makes the clutch lock different is that the end point of the spring, essentially what gives it its tension for how hard it is to do this motion, which involves closing the knife, and also acts as the detent for a knife with such a lock. You can adjust the strength of that. So if you don't want it to be quite as strong, you can put the end of this spring further away, compressing this omega shaped spring less, thus giving you less tension. Or you can strengthen it all the way and give yourself a nice sturdy detent and a little bit of a stiffer lock. Now this one here, I don't know the exact setting it's on. I'm gonna guess that it's on the strongest setting because it feels really nice. These are pass around, so I don't typically take these apart. And the axis style locks are not that hard to take apart, but if you don't have experience doing it, they can be a bit difficult. So for the sake of pass around, I left this alone. The only thing that I did with this when I received it was I switched the clip from left-handed carry, which you can see some marks right there, where this guy was set up for lefty carry, because this was loaned to me by Lefty EDC. I switched it to right-handed carry. I believe everyone else, for the most part, in the YouTube pass around is right-handed, so that's pretty much the only reason why. Plus, I had to carry it too, and I didn't feel like using a knife left-handed because I want to give you guys, an honest and fair judgment of the knife, using it with my dominant hand, not using it with my offhand, unless necessary. So without further ado, I guess let's talk about this. You're looking at 120 bucks here, 119 to be exact, at least on Blade HQ. Same exact purple aluminum version. Your blade's just over 3 inches at 3.14, so just a hair over 3 1/8 total. And with an overall length of 7.59 inches, so just over 7.5, making this a pretty good medium large knife. Now for my hands, where I wear a large size glove, this fits pretty well. I get my pinky just on there, but what's nice about these non-flipper versions is that you kind of have this choke up point, to where you can get your hand here, and now there is plenty of handle there for me, even with my larger hands, and I know there are plenty of people with hands larger than mine. Excuse the grass stains on the back of my hand. I was just throwing tennis balls for the dogs, and I'm just noticing that in the camera. Sorry, regardless. So this knife fits my hand pretty well. The ergos on the Sheepdog are okay. They're not amazing or anything. I think that, this area needs to be lengthened, or this bump out should not be as large. Personally, I find that my fingers either want to land below it, which is not super comfortable, or they want to land more above it with my middle finger there, which works really good for the choke up, but this itself is not extremely comfortable just due to the width. This change in size is a little odd in hand, so it's not uncomfortable, but it's just a little bit weird. So I would prefer if they did this handle shape slightly different, but it's not my call. I'm not the designer. In fact, I don't even know who the designer is. I guess Sheepdog Knives is the designer, so I take that back. You can see that right there. And if you didn't see already, because I didn't mention it, this is in 154 cm. So you're looking at a pretty good deal here for 120. This is approximately what Benchmades used to cost before they got absolutely insane. You can get a brand new bug out for 120, but this is a lot more knife than a bug out, and they're like 170 bucks now. You get that same axis style lock, except it's adjustable, 154 cm, aluminum handle scales, and you have a nice, fairly tall flat grind. This grind only goes 2 here, and it doesn't get tremendously thin or anything like that behind the edge, but it stays pretty thin, and your overall blade stock thickness is not too thick at all at 0.11, and that's only here at the base. You really only hit that thickness for very small portions where it is relieved by this fuller that runs all the way off the end of the knife. And the fuller also If you're not a fan of the hole or the thumb stud, which are both great ways to open this knife, it's an interesting way they attached it. You can get your middle finger into this fuller and flick it out, or if you want to pinch it, you can do that too. It's there mostly aesthetically. It's not really serving a functional purpose, though it is helping if you have like a stickier material. There's an area there where it's not going to be contacting the blade, which might make it easier to remove. If you were cutting something like cheese for whatever reason, if you wanted to use this for that. I will touch on these thumb studs quickly. You can see how they're threaded together in there. I guess this is shaped like just tight enough that those threads stay in there, so I wouldn't worry too much about these falling apart. I'm sure they're Loctited together. Even if they did, you'd still have a hole, and you'd still be able to open this knife with no problem at all. But an interesting choice nevertheless to see the studs on there as well. But I like it because I prefer thumb studs over the thumb hole. They are pretty much out of the cutting path. You can see they're almost in line. They're basically in line with the bottom 1/8 of an inch of the blade. They're just above the plunge here, which is fine. In terms of cutting, you're rarely doing straight push cuts with just this tiny little portion of blade, so they're not in the way at all. So I don't mind them position wise on this at all. Overall, I mean, this is really well done by Kizer. The aluminum version feels great. I'm glad they kept the price down. You know, they could have done titanium and charged $200+ for this, but aluminum is a nice option. You get a few color options. I'm pretty sure they have uncoated versions as well on Blade HQ's website. Let me take a peek. Yeah, they have a black version as well. And that is a satin finish blade, so that is good to know. And what's interesting is that it's interesting. It's just part of their title's wrong. So if you're looking at the black version on Blade HQ, it says it's a 2.6-inch blade. This is a lot more than 2.6 inches. Just to prove that to you, let me grab my calipers, which are hiding in my pile of shit over here on the side. But just a very quick peek, I'm getting roughly 3.16. And what did I say it was earlier? 3.14. Yeah, that's probably right. So ignore the fact it says 2.6 in the title on Blade HQ. But anyway, yeah, this cuts pretty well. It carries pretty nicely. It's a little heavy at 4 ounces and change, but is not approaching the 5-ounce mark, and it's well balanced. That balance is pretty much right in the middle of this handle, right by the pivot, right by the axis lock, or the clutch lock in this case. You can see it balances fairly nicely, just a little bit behind that lock, so it feels pretty good in hand. It doesn't feel forward heavy or anything. Nothing too crazy. Overall, nicely done by Kizer. Not really a surprise. The Sheepdog is one of their best-selling models, so it's cool to see that with their newest lock, the clutch lock. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to wrap it up here before I ramble on about nothing. Let me know what you think about this down below. How do you like it without the flipper on it? Do you like the whole stud combo? Do you like an axis lock? I've loved them over the years, and then I really grew to dislike them. And Kizer's doing them really well. Almost not making me want one again, but I'm enjoying handling Kizer's implementation of the clutch lock. So let me know your thoughts down below. Appreciate you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.